And there we are.
Here we are.
Hello, everybody. I'm super excited. I'm joined by Moss Powers here to play their game Knight.
That's my girl.
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about Knight.
So Knight is originally a solo TTRPG, but we've kind of taken it and learned to do some parallel play with it. So we're gonna both be playing, but it's a TTRPG about a knight facing down a dragon in the dragon's lair, like a classic medieval knight versus a dragon, and it's inspired by a Dungeon World post called a 16 HP dragon, which is about how dragons don't need 2500 HP to be big or scary. So it's very narrative focused, like kind of quick D6 and card based TTRPG about fighting a dragon in a terrifying situation like that.
I love it. But I've really come to love card and dice based games.
Yeah, I think the mechanics on it are really solid too, so I'm really proud of this one.
I'm super excited to get into it. All right. Well, where can they find you on socials?
So I'm mostly on Twitter. I'm at Mossdagger, Mossdaggar. I'm also on itch for most of my games, brewisttabletopgames.itch.io. I'm technically have also a Facebook for Brewist, Brewist Tabletop Games on Facebook. Not as active there. And then I also have a Tumblr at Brewist Tabletop Games, I think is it, but I'm not positive. I think that's all the places you can find me.
Games.itch.io.
Yup.
All right. So, without further ado, I'm excited to look into Knight.
Yeah, should be good.
Earlier in the suggested. Oh, Franz saw you earlier in the suggested on Tumblr.
Oh, nice.
Um, awesome. So, kind of walk through all this together. This is my first time playing.
Okay, that's
Uh,
not a problem.
of course, I read through it. It's super easy to pick up.
Yeah, it's very simple.
The art is phenomenal.
Yeah, my friend Tony did the art. He's very good. It's inspired by like street art, kind of graffiti style looking stuff.
Let me kind of show everybody at home what I'm looking at so they can see. So this is what I was talking about, the art style.
Yeah, we had fun doing that one. It was actually paired with a second game. We had Knight and Draken both together, and they were both street art styled, but one of them is pop art and one of them's like graffiti style.
How fun! And they both come in a bundle.
Yeah, for $4, it's a good deal.
It's an excellent deal. Finish what you started. I love this. This was my favorite. The swords were my favorite, and the
Yeah, those are pretty
claws
sweet.
later on.
Yeah.
These.
Yeah.
All right. And this is where you can find everybody. I'll leave this up for a second.
Yeah, that's my team. Kay, Ariel, and myself, and then Metatron, my friend, did the art.
Boop, there we go.
Alrighty.
The 16 HP dragon is he is terrifying. He's down here at the bottom. All right. So do you want to tell him how we're going to be playing together?
Yeah, so we'll be playing as two knights across parallel universes fighting the same dragon, essentially. Um, so although we are thematically linked and together, we are not literally together. We are on our own in the dragon's lair. Um, so the only difference between the rules as written in the book and what we're actually playing, if one of us does fall to the dragon, the other one is going to gain one resolve.
Oh,
So keep that in mind. If one of us dies, the other player gets a little boost, which is not to say we want to die, but just in case, it's a little helpful to get the other player through.
okay. All right. Well, do you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, let's do it. So the first thing we're going to do is name our knights. Hmm.
I'm looking over at my bookshelf for inspiration.
Yeah, that's always a tricky part is the name. Feels like it should have some gravity to it. Um,
I think it's a funny thing about the tabletop space is how, like, no, this is like our character.
yeah, it's important.
Franz is suggesting cuttlefish. I'm actually going to go with my favorite Dragonborn character I've played, Ghost.
Nice.
Stanley Cuttlefish.
I'm gonna play a knight called Sir Lawrence, and his nickname is Lucky.
Oh, I love that.
Lucky Lawrence.
Lucky Lawrence.
All right. So we've got a name. Next thing, we're gonna mark three resolve. Resolve are used to give us +2 on any of our dice rolls. So I usually mark them as boxes. It's like the easiest way to track them
Yep.
because we're gonna gain a couple more throughout the game.
I just drew little stars.
Okay. Stars work great. Okay. So we got 3 resolve. And then we are good to roll our first d6 to find out if our character is going to be built for this or not. But we're going to
Oh,
detail
yeah.
our trepidations and hopes. So do you want to both roll and then take turns talking them out, or what are we doing with it?
Sure, we could do that.
Okay. Yeah, let's. So I rolled a 6, so I'm getting a hope.
I got a 4, so I also have a hope.
Nice. Okay. So first hope. And if you're stuck, there's a table with some sparks at the end of it as well.
So, my first hope is that everyone will be safer.
Yeah. I guess we should talk a little bit about
Oh, yeah.
about what the kingdom and all that might look like. But we kind of establish that through character building usually, but so the dragon has come in and essentially despoiled the land or caused some kind of great catastrophe here, and we're questing to slay this dragon. I guess we'll really establish more of that later, but what do you think is like what kind of dragon is it, or what kind of fate has befallen the land because of it?
Oh, goodness. It's almost like a coming ice age. It's not one that breathes fire, but one that breathes ice.
Ooh, that's a cool one.
Crops are dying because as it flies over, it simply chills the land, but its breath really creates this permafrost.
Yeah, so there's like a sense of there's going to be a forever winter if we don't stop this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like that. Um, yeah, I think that sounds good for the dragon. So we got an ice dragon, so I'll take note of that. So I've got my first hope. Do you have yours?
Yep.
All right. I'm gonna just say mine and then you can say yours. Sound
Mm.
good? I think for Lucky, his hope is to make his name like live up to his namesake. He's always been called Lucky since he was a kid, and he hopes to like really drive home the fact that like his family's always believed in him and supported him, and he thinks that Lucky is kind of his destiny, and he thinks he's the lucky one that can solve this dragon issue.
I love that. So, Ghost actually, while a knight, didn't come from knighthood. Um, came from a came from a farmer's home, learned how to till the land and things like that. So to her, she understands that if the food dies, we all die. That's end of story.
Mm,
Um, she doesn't think she's lucky. She doesn't think she's the one, but she is going to give it her best.
awesome. So almost out of like desperation here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then what's the specific hope for that one?
That everyone will be safer.
Okay,
Everyone will be
for
fed,
safety.
actually.
Got it. Safer and fed. Everyone won't starve.
Yep.
Good.
Don't starve
All right.
together.
Yeah. All right. You want to roll for the next five? We can kind of shortcut this
Sure.
and just roll and tally how many we have of each, and then don't forget you can spend your resolve on these rolls as well.
Okay.
Uh, so we'll just tally up how many we have and then fill them out. Does that sound good?
Yep. That sounds great.
Okay. I got a trepidation. I will let it go to trepidation.
We get 5 total?
Five extra rolls beyond our first one, so six total.
Okay.
One more hope. Another hope. Another trepidation. And another hope. Okay. So I ended up with 4 and 2. 4 hopes, 2 trepidations.
I ended up with 3 and 3.
All right. I usually shoot for about 3 and 3 when I'm trying this, so you're not in the worst shape. But I think Lucky is starting off a little luckier, I
I
guess.
I agree.
Yeah. So you're gonna detail out your other hopes and trepidations, and we'll see what our characters look like.
So, I'm going to kind of go to Sparks here for trepidation for a minute,
Sure.
just to get a better idea. There we go. Okay, so the things that they fear.
Hmm. Things that might hold them back in their moment of dealing with this. And all the prompts I should note are they don't have to be taken literally. Like I love when people bend them and like reinterpret them. So especially because we're dealing with an ice dragon, some of those trepidation sparks might be a little less poignant, but feel free to riff off of them if you want.
All right.
Um, mm, let's see. Got one more hope to write out. 2 trepidations. Let's see. All right, I got mine.
I need one more trepidation.
Okay.
Honestly, being frozen to death doesn't sound very.
Sounds rather unpleasant,
That
yes.
sounds very unpleasant. All right.
All right, you want to go over our hopes and trepidations then?
Sure. Why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Okay. So Sir Lucky, he's got a hope to make his name proud for one thing, and then to bring summer to the land. So he's hoping to restore summer, basically, because they've been locked in this eternal winter since the dragon's arrival. He's also hoping for a great feast for all his loved ones and neighbors. So when this is all done, he wants just everyone to gather together and just have a big meal. Like that's what he's hoping for. Is like everyone comes together and has a big communal celebration. And his last hope is that this goes smoothly. He hopes that it's a lot easier than he hoped, or is afraid that it might be. So in general, he's trying to be optimistic, and he hopes this will be a little easier than he's worried it might be. And then his trepidations are the bitter freezing cold, obviously something that might hold him up a little bit. And he's afraid of dying alone here, in the dragon's lair. Like he's big on community and family, and I think he's afraid that he'll die in obscurity and just kind of be lost in the dragon's lair and not make his way home to his loved ones.
All right.
What is Ghost's hopes and trepidations?
So, Ghost's hopes are, of course, that everyone will be fed again, where nobody's
Mm-hmm.
going to starve. Starving is horrible.
Yeah,
That she'll feel the warm air of summer again. I like how we both went
nice.
summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um, and then less broken bodies due to slipping on the ice. Um, I would imagine that the hospitals are full and the medicine people are full of just people constantly breaking themselves, slipping on the ice. They're not used to living in this.
for sure.
Um, so her trepidations are that she'll never get to see her family again.
Mm-hmm.
She's leaving behind siblings, she's leaving behind loved ones, friends that she considers family, and it's a fear she'll never see them again, even if she kills the dragon. Who's to say she won't die in the bitter cold?
Yeah,
Um, freezing to death is a trepidation. Speaking of that,
yeah, yep.
um, and then making things worse. So going in trying to slay this dragon and just not succeeding and making it worse.
Mm-hmm. That's always a big fear with doing a big task like that.
Mm-hmm. So that's
Okay,
ghosts, hopes, and trepidations.
excellent. So we made it through character creation, so that's our first start. So we're going to gain one more resolve. In case we had spent any earlier, we would be back up to 3, but now we're up to 4. So we didn't spend any, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we got 4 resolve. Remember, you can use those on any of those d6 rolls to get +2 specifically, not
Okay.
+1, just +2. And let's detail our journey to the dragon's lair. Uh, what do you think the journey looks like for Ghost towards the dragon's lair? Like, what do you usually? I use the senses kind of technique as like, what do you see, smell, hear, taste, etc.
So Ghost sees as traveling into this dragon's lair just a blanket of white.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it gets colder and colder closer to the dragon's lair, and it's just this blanket of snow and ice. There is no life. There is no flora, no fauna. Um, and entering into the lair, it's ice. The walls are slick. They're cold. It's I'm trying to describe the smell of cold. Like that's all I've got.
It just smells like your nose is numb.
It smells cold. Every inhale hurts. It's sharp.
Yeah.
Um, you can hear the dripping of water coming off the ice, only to refreeze again below it.
You don't have to hit all the senses. Don't feel
No,
like you need all of
I
them.
was making sure I've got everything. Yes.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. For Sir Lucky, I think on his way to the dragon's lair, he sees a very similar scene. It is just snow and ice everywhere. There's hardly anything around. All the plant life is dead. But I think for Lawrence, Sir Lucky, he sees a white rabbit on his way, and I think he sees it as a good omen, um, something fortuitous to hopefully bring him good luck in the moments ahead. Um, Playing with a little luck motif here, so we'll see. Um, but yeah, he sees the white rabbit, and then he arrives at the dragon's lair, and he remembers like, oh, luck might not get me all the way through this. This is a dangerous place. And he sees the cave with the stalagmites and stalactites of ice. He hears the cold echoes coming from inside of his own footsteps as he approaches. Um, he can just feel the frost on his skin. Every inch that is exposed is just like bitingly cold. Uh, and he steels himself and steps forward into the cave. And I think we're ready to go on with our next section here.
Yeah.
All right. So you're going to draw the first card, and then we're going to interpret the prompt, and then roll against it.
And this is under the first card suits. Okay, because that's Dragon's Attack,
Yeah.
so it's under Obstacle.
Yeah, so obstacle. Yep.
Shh. Okay.
And these can all be reinterpreted differently. So what card did you draw?
I drew an ace.
An ace of what suit?
Hearts.
Ace of hearts. Okay. So the hearts tell us it is decisively and swiftly resolved, and the ace is a 7 on our d6. So that's very rough to begin with. The normal prompt is a pool of acid that appeared to be water. How do you think that manifests in this ice cave? Like, what might it be?
I mean, so one of the easiest ways to flip that would be a pool of water that actually appeared to be ice, to step on it and walk across it.
Oh, yeah. And then it's a dangerous, like, trap because it's fucking cold.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Sorry. I
You're
don't know
good.
if...
No,
Okay,
cursing is
cool.
fine.
Okay, wasn't sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that sounds like a good plan. Yeah, let's go with something like that. And it's going to be decisively and swiftly resolved no matter how we get through it. And we're not going to fail here because it always costs us something to get through, but we fail forward.
Okay.
So you're going to roll against that 7, and you can spend resolve if you need to. I'm going to do the same.
No, it's not gonna matter.
Yeah, same. I got a 2.
Yeah.
So it's going to cost you a hope. So what hope do you think gets you through in this moment, or what hope do you think you lose in that freezing cold water as we fall in?
So the hope that gets her through is it just drives her forward to be able to feel the warm air of summer again.
Oh yeah, she just has to focus on that summer. Keep the mental picture in mind.
Yep, just try to get through remember the warm feeling of the breeze on your face.
Yeah. I think for Sir Lawrence, he immediately loses his hope that this is going to go smoothly. He is soaking wet, and it is freezing in here, and that's a bad start. And it was not so lucky to fall into this pool of water that is freezing cold.
Just knock him down a couple of
And
eggs
it's
on the luck. It's okay.
yeah, so it's decisively and swiftly resolved. So how do you think this actually goes down?
It's not very deep. Um,
Okay.
it's probably about I'd say knee to mid thigh,
Yeah,
and it's very easy to just kind of get out to the other side.
just hop right back out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, but yeah, I think we are soaked kind of basically to our at least to our knees. I think for Sir Lawrence, I think he fell all the way in. Like he tumbled forward into it,
Oh no.
and he's just all the way wet. Um, and he immediately springs back out on the other side, but he is wet and very cold. Um, but it is decisively and swiftly resolved, so we're through it.
Yeah.
Let's go to our next card. We're gonna do 4 more of these.
Okay. Did you want to draw a card, or do you want me to do it again?
You can do it again. I don't have my deck set up right now.
Okay. We're doing a 10 of hearts.
The 10 of Hearts. Okay, so that's another swiftly and decisively resolved. The 10 is a 5, and it says it's a deadly poison gas. So this could be reinterpreted as we will, but what do you think a deadly poison gas might be in an ice dragon's lair?
Um, I don't know. Do you have any ideas?
Um, maybe like a just kind of a patch of like super cold air, like maybe a breeze or something, kind of like an exhalation or something from the dragon or something from deeper in the cave is just like extra cold.
Yeah.
And there's this super cold air just kind of in a pocket here somewhere. And I think that's probably our equivalent gas because it is equally dangerous in this circumstance.
Oh, it hurts.
Yeah, it's just like an area where the temperature just drops another like 10 degrees or something. All right, and we're looking to beat a 5 on the d6.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got exactly a 5.
I
Uh,
am re-looking through. Yeah, that's a 6.
okay, so 6 passes. So I get a 5. So when you match the number exactly, you get to lose a trepidation. Um, so I think Sir Lawrence. I'm going to narrate mine first, if that's all right.
Go for it.
Sir Lawrence is like soaking wet, and he encounters this like area of like extra chill, and it takes him only a moment to realize like, oh, this is a very dangerous room. Like this area is extremely cold, and he just kind of like sprints through it, and on the other side, he feels a sense of relief because it's immediately a little warmer, even if not much. But he's less afraid of the bitter freezing cold because he knows if he keeps his pace, he can get this done before he freezes to death. So he's going to lose his trepidation of the bitter freezing cold and thinks that even though he's freezing now, he's going to get this done as quickly as possible.
I love that. Okay,
All
so
right.
it's 2. We need 3 more?
We do. How'd you make it through your area of the frozen air?
Oh, and I don't burn anything.
No, you don't lose anything. You made it through,
Okay,
and it's decisively and swiftly resolved.
solved. So, having breathed in the cold air this far, this one does hurt more. The pain is worse. The sharp inhales of ice, almost like ice growing in your lungs.
Ooh.
So she's only wet from like mid thigh down. The rest of her is fairly dry. So
Mhm.
she takes her underlayer underneath her armor and pulls it up over her nose and uses her arm to wrap around and try and gain, while the metal is cold on her armor, it's trying to gain some kind of block
Yeah, to keep this out of your lungs.
and makes it through.
All right. Perfect. So now we're on to the next card. Third card.
An 8 of hearts.
The 8, which is a 4.
I swear I
Also
shuffled
a heart.
these.
I believe you. Venomous darts. So it could be literal venomous darts, or it could be something else venomous or poisonous.
I really just like venomous darts, if I'm being honest.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. So maybe there's some kind of like traps or something set by followers of the dragon or some kind of other intelligent individuals.
pressure plates hidden.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we are making our way through. This is hearts, and we're looking to beat a 4. And I rolled a 1.
Yep.
All right. What hope do you think it costs you?
The hope that it costs Ghost is less broken bodies due to slipping on the ice. Um, she realized, there's always going to be broken bodies, and maybe they're the exact same number, just different, and she just starts to doubt herself through this whole thing.
Yeah, just that sense of optimism or whatever you had before kind of fading away, that
Mm,
hope.
yeah.
Okay. Uh, for Sir Lucky, I think he's losing his hope that he's going to make his namesake, and he's less worried about being the lucky one that made it out and more worried about actually just making it out. He doesn't feel so lucky anymore as he's hit by this dart from a pressure plate. And although it is a mild enough poison that he can shake it off, he's not feeling too hot anymore, or too cold or something. He's cold, and not feeling well. But yeah, I think he gets hit by some of these darts as we're passing through,
Oh,
and at first
Ghost
they're
does too.
yeah, at first they're an annoyance of like, ow, what was that? And then he realizes that they are poisoned, and he's kind of feeling woozy in the cold. Uh, and he is just already looking pretty bad on this front.
Yeah, I
Um,
imagine I imagine the poison in it is, you're right, light enough to be able to shake off, but it does, especially with the on top of the cold.
yeah, just kind of feeling a little uncoordinated and a little dizzy, and it's just enough to keep us off our game all the way. So,
Mhm.
but I think we make it through without any lethal consequences here. So let's move on to the next card.
Queen of Spades.
Ooh, that's a brutal one.
Hmm.
Uh,
No, I'm sorry, Queen of
Queen,
Clubs.
Queen of Clubs. Okay. So in the original prompt, it's an enormous angry bear. It could be any kind of beast in the lair, and the clubs say that it's messy with lasting damage. So something about this encounter is gonna hurt, and we're looking to beat a 6.
Okay.
Ooh, I got the 5. I think I'll spend a resolve to move mine up to 7, though.
I got a 4. I'm spending my resolve to move it up to 6.
Okay, so you get to lose a trepidation instead. So what
Alright.
trepidation kind of melts away in your confrontation with this beast? And what kind of beast is it?
Oh, man. Really, I can't get the image of a bear out of my head. Just this big, furry, grizzly. Bigger than most bears, for sure.
Oh yeah, like bordering on like dire bear territory, but not quite.
Yeah. And it's like a grizzly in stature and fur. And honestly, it melts away her trepidation of freezing to death.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
more dangerous things than that in here.
well, not only are there more dangerous things than that, but if a bear can survive,
Yeah,
why can't she? So her fear of freezing to death melts away, but there is lasting damage.
yeah. So something about this conflict or consequence of this conflict is going to stick with us.
So for Ghost, she doesn't want to take down this bear. She really wants to leave it alone. Um, but that proves to be not, I want to say near fatal, but definitely a problem, as this bear takes a huge paw and just hits her in her chest plate, and dents it, um,
Ooh.
to the point that she has to remove it because the way the dent hits against her breastbone is just pain,
Oh yeah.
to the point that she has to remove this armor.
So you're down a major piece of armor.
Hmm.
All right, but you do manage to deal with the bear. How do you think you deal with it?
She does. She doesn't want to slay it. So she tries to go for non-fatal blows, finding them, especially after the hit to the chest plate, and eventually does have to slay it.
Yeah. Um, I think for Sir Lucky, it's he. I don't think he regards the bear with as much mercy. He's kind of terrified of it, and kind of fights out of desperation. But he does take like a serious bear paw across like the shoulder and just kind of sends him reeling for a second. And he spins, and it might have broken his left arm, like his shield arm. He's not
Oh
sure,
gosh.
just from the impact of it, because it is a heavy paw. Um, and his arm is definitely maybe has a sprain of some kind at the least. And he's using his one sword arm and manages to take down the bear. But he sees this as a nice relief because he sees it as like this is a moment of like collect the body heat from the corpse of the bear, basically.
Yeah.
Like take a moment to warm up off of this thing, and he'll do his best to skin part of it and take some of the fur for a cloak and kind of wrap this gory bear skin over himself and continue on.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to survive.
Yeah, he's in survival mode at this point, so but he has potentially a broken arm at this point in his shield arm.
Okay. So a major piece of missing armor and a possible broken arm.
Yeah. So
So
keep those in mind for future narrations. And then we're on to the last card, I think. Is that our fifth card?
I think so.
Okay.
I can count them. No, that is our fourth card.
Okay, so one more card would be our fifth, which is our last one. It's only 5 for the Dragon's Lair, and then the rest of the dragon.
Okay. Give me something easy.
Let's
Nine
see.
of Hearts.
9. I think that's also a 5. Yeah, that is
Yes.
also a 5. An explosive blast of flame from the floor. I'm imagining it's not flame in our case.
No, almost like a geyser.
Oh, like a geyser of like super cold water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like something like an air pocket or something below the ice just kind of like bursts with a bunch of cold water and air.
Yeah, it explodes the floor.
Yeah. And I think we see across space and time like that parallel of like both of these knights staggering towards the dragon's lair, hoping to get there, and suddenly there's this blast from below, super cold water and air. So we're rolling against a 5. I got a 4.
I got a one.
Ooh. How many hopes do you have left?
I have. This is my last hope.
You're on your last hope. Okay. So it is a 5, so you could technically spend 2 resolve for it. It's a little bit risky, but it would let you match, which lets you erase a trepidation. And
Let's
if you do run out of trepidations, you can start gaining hopes.
let's do that.
Okay. So 2 resolve for you,
Yep, two resolve. So go ahead and go
and you get
first.
the. Okay. So I rolled the 4. So I think this blast of super cold is going to erase Sir Lawrence's hope for a great feast of all his friends and loved ones and neighbors. Um, he doesn't care about the feast at this point. He just wants to get this dragon dead and out of here. Um, he he needs to go home, but he doesn't care what happens on the other side. He just wants to like lay in bed and be warm again. Like that's all he wants. He's so cold at this point. But this blast of freezing cold water eventually or essentially like knocks the bear cloak right off of him again. So he had this bloody bear cloak that he'd thrown on, and the cold water and air just kind of knocks it right off him, and knocks his broken arm a little bit. It's sore all over again, and he's just feeling miserable essentially at this point. So he just doesn't care about that feast anymore. He just wants to go home and be in his bed.
Okay. So I'm spending two resolve to match. And the trepidation I'm gonna burn is that she'll never see her family again because after everything up to this point that she's been through, even if she doesn't see her family again, the important thing is that the dragon is gone.
Yeah,
So there is a determination to get rid of this dragon. There's a determination to end everything and bring Summer back, even if it means not making it home at the end of it.
excellent. So yeah, you're looking at the hopes for a better future even without you.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right. Then we have gotten through the dragon's lair, so we gain one more resolve back. So that's nice. Uh, but now we actually have the encounter with the dragon, which is uh, gonna be rough. We'll see how it goes.
Final deck. Until it's depleted.
Yep, every single spades card. So for those of you watching along, if you haven't caught that, there are no spades cards in the first deck. All the spades cards are the dragon's deck. So every single one of the spades cards, 2 through ace, are the dragon's attacks. We have to defeat all of them in order to defeat the dragon.
Oh my gosh.
Um, so first thing we're going to do is describe our actual like moment we see the dragon and enter the dragon's chambers, basically, and what it looks like and all that. Do you want to take point on that?
Sure. So, entering the dragon's lair, it is huge and it's cavernous. Every step echoes louder than the one before it. The air swirls around with with these tiny ice crystals, um, and in some moments it whips and almost looks like these little tiny ice tornadoes forming and then disappearing. Um, the dragon is not sleeping. The roaring from the bear possibly woke it up, but
Hmm.
can't be too sure. And it sees and it looks and it stands to its full height. Um, all four paws, feet, claws on the ground. Um, the room is almost too small to fit its full height. Around it are piles of bones, rusted out armor, um, frozen frozen carcasses. Not so much of a dragon's treasure hoard, but definitely can tell it lives and feasts there.
Yeah. Uh, I think Sir Lawrence sees roughly the same thing. He approaches, and the dragon is already aware of him. Maybe it was the bear, maybe it was the blast of water and ice before he arrived. But as he steps forward, the dragon immediately is like basically in like the cat's jumping on a prey position, like ready to take him on. And you can see its tail flicking predatorily, and the dragon is here, and it is hungry, because you can tell right away that it has driven all the animals and plants to death in the land. So it's already hungry for more. Uh, and I think that yeah, there's almost no treasure here because this dragon is just a dragon of like wasting and famine. It's not really a dragon of collecting and hoarding wealth necessarily. It's just kind of taking what it can from the land and devouring it. So yeah, I think we see our dragons, uh, and we're ready for the final encounter. Or do
Biggest
you
of
need a?
problems. No, I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
First card,
Ace of spades.
the ace. Always a pleasure. So for the dragon attack, normally it's a surge of immolating flame hot enough to melt steel. I'm assuming it's probably colder than that for us.
Mm-hmm.
So this is some kind of absolutely bitterly cold breath from this dragon that could freeze us in an instant. And we're looking to beat that 7, same mechanic as before.
Yep.
Well, I rolled a 2.
So did
So you could lose your last hope. You won't die until you have to lose a hope and don't have one. Or you could technically spend 3 resolve if you have them, but that seems like a little excessive.
I. No.
Okay.
Nope. I'll spend my last hope. Do you want to
Yeah.
narrate this one first?
Yeah. So Sir Lawrence loses hope of summer, bringing summer to the land, because for a moment, with the cold, freezing air here, he just forgets about summer entirely. There's nothing but cold. That's all his mind can think about is like how cold it is. He can't even fathom warmth at this point. um, and I think the dragon just kind of blasts some freezing cold icicle shards at him, and just a blast of cold air and water and freezing ice. And he tries to throw up his shield, but his arm is too weakened from the bear attack earlier. And there's only a few seconds, like not even seconds, where he's holding his shield up before he has to drop it and turn and roll away. But his legs are frosted and they were still wet from earlier. And he's feeling pretty bad about it. He's not doing too great. But he rolls out of the breath just in time for the exhalation to end. And he's halfway frosted, but he is alive, so he's still in the fight. What does it look
So,
like for you?
Ghost's last hope of everyone will be fed is gone. Seeing the frozen carcasses and the piles of bones and the feel of that cold blast makes her think that even if this dragon is gone, this is not going to be over, especially anytime soon, with the layers of frost that cover the land and cover the village. It almost seems impossible to see the sun again. And as the dragon breathes this cold blast of air and ice, a thought crosses her mind of this is what death feels like.
Mm.
And it takes her a moment. She almost is there frozen. Um, Out of this last hope being just dashed from her mind, this first thought, she's frozen for a moment. And as soon as the first couple of icicles hit her unarmored chest, the pain wakes her back up as she throws her tower shield up and holds it just in time for the climax of the blow to hit it and push her back towards the wall.
Mm.
The point of the shield scraping the ground, the only thing keeping her from flying and hitting the ice itself.
Okay. Well, we're on to the next card. We got one of the big ones out of the way, at least, right?
That's kind of a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
10.
10's a 5, so we're still in rough territory, but the 10 says it pounces upon you, attempting to crush you with its bulk.
Well,
I think that sounds about right.
yeah.
Probably doesn't need too much editing.
Nah.
Do you want to do yours first?
Let me.
Oh yeah, we can roll against the 5.
Yeah, I'm actually going to burn a resolve. I got a 3. I'm going to burn a resolve and match it.
Okay, so you get to lose a trepidation.
Um,
I rolled a 4 and I'm out of hopes, so I have to burn a resolve. And I don't match it.
Are you over?
I'm over. I'm at 6.
Okay. I got scared for a second. I was like, no.
Oh yeah. No, I'm good. For now.
For now, right?
Looking grim, but we'll hopefully get through.
Oh my gosh. So her last trepidation that she burns is making things worse. Um, she realizes as the dragon, as the dragon pounces upon her, her shield's still up, so she's able to hold back the claws, digging into at least her upper torso. The idea that things are going to get worse is gone. There's no way
Yeah.
it could get worse from here.
Yeah.
There's no way any of this could be worse. Almost almost as if death would be better than this. Um,
Mhm.
and the back claws of the dragon take a swipe, take a kick at her legs, sending frost from her armor flying as it is able to dig underneath her shin armor and rip it off her right leg.
Oh wow. So just got the armor peeled off by a back claw.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So we've got, and
So
it's bare
you're
skin because it took
yeah.
rips of that cloth with it, so it is just bare skin at this point.
Yep. Okay. So you're undefended on a couple fronts. Here we go. I guess the next card, right?
Are you gonna
Oh wait,
narrate
did I?
yours?
Oh yeah, I forgot to narrate mine. So I think um, Sir Lawrence sees the dragon like after the breath of frost, kind of lean back and then plunge its whole weight forward at him and onto him, and he has to keep in mind like I've got to get this done quickly. I can't dawdle. I need my speed. Even if I'm freezing, I just need to keep going. And he's still lucid enough in this moment, even with the grogginess of the poison from earlier and the freezing cold, that he knows how to roll under an opponent that is jumping high like that. So the dragon leaps high and he rolls low under it, and he arrives on the other side of the dragon unscathed for this moment. He's fighting in desperation and in survival mode, but he's keeping his wits about him, hoping to stay lucky.
Just gotta stay lucky.
All right,
All right.
next card.
Ha, 4. Whew.
4 is a 2. So its armored scales blunt your sword, bending the tip and sending it flying.
Okay, not so whew, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Ah, of course I roll a 1.
We have to beat
You
4. We have
have
to
to beat
beat
a 2.
2. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, got a 3.
All right, so you pass. I have to spend a resolve in this moment
Mm.
to not just give up on the spot and die.
Oh no.
So for Sir Lawrence, I think as he rolled to the other side, he sees a moment where he's like, I've got to end this quickly. That's his main thought right now. So he goes for the counterattack, and he completely underestimated how hard the dragon scale is. And he threw all his might into this blow, and as he did so, the sword just bent and shattered with the cold. So his sword is broken at this point. But the top third of his sword is just absolutely shattered.
Okay.
And then for you, your sword is still bent, but what does it look like for your moment?
So its armor scales blunt your sword bending the tip sending it fly. Okay. Um so finally there's an opening and Ghost takes it with every little bit of strength that she's got
Mm-hmm.
and goes to slash at what she believes is the weak spot. Um but of course dragons being intelligent beings see through that and brings that tail up to block,
Mm.
and the strong parts of its scaly armor um, bends the center of the sword. She went to slash, and with one of the strong parts of the sword, and it just almost curves it like a moon.
Oh yeah, like full crescented.
Not quite full crescented, but definitely crescented. Um,
Okay.
couple of really big nicks in the blade. Um, not
So you got
quite
like a 15
shattered.
degree angle on your sword now.
Yeah, it's a very obtuse angle,
Yeah.
a boomerang, if you will,
Yeah.
and quite a bit of nicks, um,
Hmm.
chunks taken out of the what once was the sharp edge of the sword. but it's usable,
Yeah.
and
Still might get you through this.
hopefully,
Yeah.
um, I can't remember if you said it sends it flying.
It does in the original prompt, but it doesn't have to for our interpretation.
Um,
For Sir Lawrence, I think he still has his broken sword.
yeah, I think Ghost still is holding hers.
Okay. Then we're on to the next card.
5.
The 5 is a 3, and it says its whip-like tail sweeps your legs, momentarily tripping you.
Okay.
Do you want to take the first one on this one? I got a 5.
Oh, I have
I
to spend a
pass.
resolve. I got a 1.
Is it... Oh, at least that lets you match.
It does let me match, which means I do gain a new hope.
Nice.
Because I'm out of trepidations.
Sweet.
So, as the... I have to think of a new hope. The desperation in this is real.
Yeah, for real. It's meant to portray like this is a tooth and nail fight between two like combatants who are going at it to the death.
Oh, yeah. And it does an excellent job because I'm sitting here going, oh, come on. I mean, even for your character, every time you roll and go to say what you've got, I'm going, no, please, come on.
Yeah, because I'm out of hopes too, so and you're getting one now, so
Um, so the dragon sweeps her from under, actually hitting her in the shin that's unarmored, causing its own scrapes and scratches that just burn
mm-hmm.
through both, almost like a skin knee type of burn.
Yeah,
On
just that
top of
intense
this,
pain on of the skin nerves and all that.
on top of this freezing cold that's happening.
Oh yeah.
Um, but let me be a 2000s emo kid for a second. But it is that feeling of pain. It is that feeling of, as she falls and hits against the cold ice. It's that pain that brings her back to reality and goes, okay, no, I am still alive and I can fight. Um, and the new hope that forms from that is this thought of, no, I'm going to make it out of here. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to get out of here alive. And I'm going to see
Your-
everybody's smiling faces again.
Oh, beautiful. So your new hope is just to make it out and see everyone's smiling faces once more.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So I made it through, but it didn't cost me anything. So I think for me, the tail comes through as I'm still kind of stunned that my sword is just broken on this thing. But I'm at its back essentially because I went for the back stab and it broke my sword, and its tail just kind of sweeps back as it turns back around. And it hits my left leg, and then I stumble into it with my full weight, that I kind of like awkwardly fall halfway and then catch myself. So I like land and partially on my left arm, which is probably broken at this point still. Um, and I immediately feel the pain as I like brace myself with the wrong arm, and I'm still holding my broken sword in my right hand, and my left shield arm is braced against the ground, and I weakly have to push myself back up with my sword arm because my left arm still is feeling mighty tender. But I lost balance for a moment. We'll see if the dragon capitalizes on that with the next card.
Hopefully not. 8.
I think you're on mute. 8. All right. 8 says it unhinges its jaws and attempts to swallow you alive. And that is a 4 we're looking to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I rolled a 3. I still have resolve though.
5.
5, you got it. All right, I have to spend a resolve, which does not match me. So I'm down to 1 resolve, still no hope. So you got a 5, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you pass. All right. Then how do we get through this? I think for Sir Lawrence, like, as he tripped and was like readying himself again, the dragon like uh brings its neck around and unhinges its jaws and goes for the full on swallowing of attempting to like eat this knight that is weakened here. And Sir Lawrence just kind of throws up his broken sword for a moment, and the dragon kind of hits the roof of its mouth on the broken end of the sword and then recoils in pain as I've dealt the tiniest blow to it at this point.
Something's better than nothing.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it recoils from the broken sword and it's the roof of its mouth. What does it look like for you?
So, Ghost is prone. With the trip, she fell and is now staring up at this dragon, trying to scramble her way up. Um, and the dragon comes down, mouth wide open. And I think it looks a lot of the same. Instead, though, because my sword is no longer straight.
Mhm.
So, rather than trying to pierce it from the top and kind of make a wedge there, she takes that hook and tries to get on the inside of the cheek of the dragon. Um, and it succeeds in not eating her alive. Um,
Mhm.
so she takes that hook and she swings in order to hook the inside part of the jaw, um, the fleshy part of this jaw, and is able to just tear into it. Not all the way. It's not completely ripped out, but just tear into it enough to cause it to back up and take a moment in pain.
Yeah. So you've dealt a blow to this dragon, and it will surely leave a scar if the dragon survives.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, the dragon will not survive and we will slay it, but we'll see.
I am getting nervous, I tell you.
Yeah. How many cards do we have left?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8 cards left.
We have
Okay.
8.
On to the next then.
2.
The 2. Okay. The 2 is a nice one because we can only match it. We literally cannot fail.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 1 we're beating, and it says hatred burns in its evil eyes. I pass with a 5, no match.
Yep, 4, no match.
Okay. So there's just a moment of this dragon making eye contact after this moment where it tried to eat us. So for Sir Lawrence, I think he sees like he stabbed up at the dragon, and I think the dragon kind of looks down at him kind of in shock and awe that he drew any blood on it. Just the idea that it could be injured is so far beyond its arrogance that it kind of doesn't know how to react for a moment, but it's definitely angry at him for it. And I think he just kind of sees this dragon kind of 50% bewilderment and 50% hate. It's kind of staring him down, ready to end him. I think that's the moment of eye contact for him.
So for Ghost, cutting into the inside of that cheek, it swings its head back and lets out a roar, and just as soon as that head comes down, the roar stops and eyes lock.
Mhm.
Like you were mentioning, the arrogance of I've been hurt and I've been injured is so unfathomable to this dragon that it it's part of it's partially bewilderment and partially just how dare you draw blood on me. Um, and Ghost takes the moment while it's in pain to scramble back up to her feet, but can't help this just the tiniest the slightest of smirks underneath her knighthood. Of even at the end of this, even if she perishes, she made some sort of a difference.
Mm-hmm. Next card.
Oh yeah, gotta draw a card before I can roll the dice. 7.
The 7 is a deadly claw peeling up in the front of your plate mail. You're already down a plate mail, so this might be dangerous for you.
Yes, that's gonna be great.
We're looking to beat a 4.
Oh no, we're not doing that.
I got a 6, so I pass.
I got a 1 and no resolve, so I gotta burn this hope.
Oh, you immediately lose your hope you just gained.
Look, at least it's there.
Yeah. Better than death.
Better than death. Oh no. So, being down a chest plate. Yeah, I am down plate.
Yeah. So this deadly claw threatening to peel open the front of your plate mail, which is not there.
It's
So,
not there. So this claw comes down and it is swift and it is fast, a lot faster than she thought it was going to be. And she realizes she doesn't have time to haul her tower shield up to protect her, so instead she tries to use her bent crescented sword, trying to use the V of it to catch the claws. She's not quite fast enough though, and the dragon proves to be a little bit stronger as the force of coming down. She holds that hooked blade up, and it catches and it slows it, but only barely, as it just rips.
oof.
It tears into her skin. Not fatal. She's still alive, but it is immense amount of pain,
Yeah,
which
that's
could
a
prove to
serious
be
wound.
fatal later. Yes.
Yeah.
And the hope that she will see everybody's smiling faces is immediately dashed
Yeah.
as she realizes the gore and the blood coming out of her, and that this might be her last moment alive.
Yeah. All right. So for Lucky, I think it is. I think we see a parallel moment of he sees the claw coming. It's faster than he imagined, and he tries to throw up his shield, but his arm is broken and he can't get it over in time. So he throws up the sword, horizontal to block the claw, but he has the plate mail still, and the claw is slowed down by the sword, same as yours, but the plate mail protects him, and this plate mail is basically shredded like tissue paper from this dragon. It's just effortlessly torn through by the sharpness and power of this dragon's claw. And I think had he not had the plate mail, he would certainly be dead, or certainly be grievously injured as you are. But he's thankful for a moment that he had the protection of that and continues the fight. Are we ready for the next card?
No, but yes. 6.
6 is a 3. That says it swipes across your body with its enormous wings. All right, looking to beat a 3. I got the 6.
Got a 6.
All right, we make it through. I think the dragon on my end, like, it clawed through and maybe it put too much forward momentum in. So it takes a moment to like readjust itself by like backing up with its wings. So like it kind of hits me a little incidentally, but mostly just because it's a huge dragon. Not so much because it was a full-blown attack. It was more of like a steadying itself kind of moment. And I think there's not a lot of intentional harm here, but the fact that I did still get like frost and snow from the wings, and like the tips of the wings still battered me a little bit. I think I'm more kind of like on the defensive, like throwing up my arm and my sword, trying to block than anything. But it puts me on the defensive for a moment as this dragon kind of wings forward or backward, I guess.
So for Ghost, The pain from the swipe to her chest is kind of drives her back a little bit, and she realizes she's closer to the wall than she thought. And the dragon comes down with that wing, and again, back to not, bigger than the dragon sometimes thinks it is. That wing doesn't quite catch it. The hook of it comes down and scrapes against the ice wall and hooks itself, um, having to cause it to reel back, and stumble backwards. Ghost taking a moment to be able to just breathe through and regain whatever, what's the word I'm looking for? Regain herself and where she's at in her surroundings.
Yeah. Okay. We're getting there.
9.
Next card, the 9, which is a 5. A gush of fiery breath. Its flames lick and dance about you. So for us, it's probably ice.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. So I rolled a 1.
I rolled a 4 and I have no resolve.
So you're out of hopes,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't beat it. And I don't have enough resolve to beat it. So for both of us, this is where we go down.
Mm-hmm. Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
we were so close.
Go ahead.
So this gush of fiery breath, in this case, it's ice. Let's describe that, and then we'll describe our final moments. But it looks like we both fell to the dragon in the very same attack.
We did.
Yeah,
We did. Oh man.
so close.
Go ahead. Go ahead and take point on
Okay,
this.
all right, all right. So for Sir Lawrence, he was on the defensive from the dragon's wings kind of blasting him for a moment, and he kind of threw up his arms and didn't even see as the dragon was like using it as cover to breathe back and blast him with ice. And there's a few moments where he doesn't even realize that the temperature has changed that much, because it was already so cold and he was already so frozen, and the wind was already buffeting him from the wings. But he doesn't realize until the temperature just, he suddenly feels numb, he suddenly feels colder, and it's so much that it puts his system into shock, and he just drops to the floor. Um, but there was a moment where he didn't even realize that he was caught in the blast because it was so cold already, and this dragon's breath is even colder to the point of being fatal. Um, and I think his exposed skin from his plate mail being lost was really, it's enough to freeze his heart essentially, and he falls to the ground and perishes in the dragon's lair.
So the blowback, um, to Ghost Chest is a lot harder to regain herself than she thinks it is. And
Mm-hmm.
she watches this dragon rear itself back, and she can't move fast enough. It's almost like she can see what's coming. She can tell what's coming and what's on the way. And she cannot will her body to move. As this dragon rears back and blows out this icy breath of icicles and ice crystals and just this cold feeling of death. And she tries, and the thoughts coming up through her head of just move, just move, just move your body, move to the left, do something. And she can't. It's over. Physically, her body has given up, from the pain, the blood loss, the loss of hope, even after gaining some back. Physically, her body can't do it, and she watches as the breath comes from this dragon, and yeah, the cold and breath and embrace of death just takes her,
Mm-hmm.
and she falls slumped against the wall, perished to the dragon.
Yep. Well, there's a section in the defeat part of the book that we'll just go over real quick. Uh, Either you can read that out or I can read it.
Let me. I can if you'd like me to.
Yeah, go for it.
Despite your noble intent, your body now decorates the halls of the dragon's lair, another macabre testament to the foolishness of your cause. Darkness has triumphed this day, and the light of another hero is snuffed from this world. Describe your final moments with all five senses and what emotions you feel. How did you come so far, only to lose absolutely everything? Reflect on your journey.
So we talked a little bit about that final scene already. So we kind of got an establishment of like what happened. Is there any other details you want to add to that? Are you comfortable with it as is?
I'm comfortable with it as is.
Okay. Same for me. So what reflections do you want to make about that? Like any thoughts about your character's journey or how they got there or
I
what
mean,
felt appropriate or not appropriate for your character?
honestly, when it comes to Ghost coming, just trying out of desperation to save the people, she didn't go
Hmm.
in looking for fame. She didn't go in looking for fortune or treasure or thinking, anything of the sort. And turned out, in a way for her, she got a lot farther than she ever thought than she thought she was going to.
Hmm.
While she is trained to be a knight, she doesn't ever, there's not a, oh, I'm a brave knight and I'm going to make it through. So for
Hmm.
her, getting through the bear was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I made it a lot farther than I thought I was going to. Oh man, what about for Lucky?
So for Lucky, I feel like he started out pretty lucky and then his luck just kind of faded real fast. He he was optimistic, he was hopeful, and then that just kind of was worn away by the cold as they kind of went through that journey. And we saw a lot of the same parallels between our knights of like what was happening to them, but also like neither of them was like going for the glory or anything like that. They just wanted to be
Yeah.
their communities to be safe, and they still couldn't make it. And the dragon's evil was too great. I do think it's appropriate and also very sad that Sir Lawrence ended with one trepidation, and that was dying alone in the dragon's
Oh
lair.
gosh.
That's his only thing that was holding him back was his fear of dying alone there, and he did. And in some ways he died alone, and in some ways there was the parallel of like our characters not dying alone because they're not the only ones that have faced this dragon like that.
Mhm.
So there's some small comfort for me, but unfortunately no comfort for Lawrence as he is quite dead. Uh,
Yeah.
R.I.P. Sir Lawrence.
Yeah, RIPs to Lawrence and RIPs to Ghost because, that's yeah. I didn't realize you still had that trepidation left.
Yeah, that was my last one.
And you're right, in a way he did die alone, knowingly, in his head died alone. But
Yeah,
at the end he didn't because, there was those parallels of him and Ghost fighting this dragon together.
yeah. I think it was a good journey. I enjoyed this one.
It
Good
was.
playthrough. Thank
It
you for joining me
was.
on it.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Um is there anything else you want to say about Knight or Draken or any of the other games you've done?
Um, I mean, as the usual plug, you can find all my games on brewstabletopgames.itch.io. I make lots of games. I try to make them all available for free or very cheap. So most of them have community copies or they're pay what you want. So if you want to check out my games, feel free to do so. I would love it if you would do so. So that's really all I got about the games.
You've got a new game
I
you're making, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm working on one, Hell Whalers, which is a game of religious horror. It's a little darker than some of my other games, which is saying something because this one's a little dark. Uh, but it's certainly a work in progress, and it's coming along. Um, yeah, I'm working on that, and I've got some other games that are pretty cool, so I recommend checking them out.
All the links, I just posted all the links in chat of where you can find Moss's games. Um, from this specific one to the to the itch.io page, as well as their Twitter. Go check them out. Um, this was a fantastic game. Whoa, the desperation was so real. I'm still kind of reeling
Oh
from it.
yeah. Just
'Kay.
definitely getting in there and like fighting with everything you've got and trying to take down this dragon is
Oh yeah.
it's a harrowing journey sometimes.
It is. Well, and I missed when I was reading through it, I missed that you have the entire deck of spades to go through. So
Yes.
when
The
you
dragon
said
literally
that,
throws everything at you.
so when you said that, my whole heart sank, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, 13 cards.
But go check out Moss's games. This is a lot of fun. I've also looked at Draken, and Draken is really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
dragon's neat.
I can't wait for Hell Whalers. I've been seeing you post that everywhere on Twitter. I'm very excited for Hell Whalers. Um, but without further ado, Moss, thank you so much for joining me on this journey and messaging me and sending me a message over wanting to play this together.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being interested and willing.
Oh, of course. Um, but thank you everyone who came and joined us on this harrowing journey. We were indeed served as crispy calamari and a side of moss salad um, for this two appetizer style for a dragon.
Yeah.
Um, well, crispy, more frozen. It's frozen moss salad and frozen squid. But thank you guys so much for coming and joining. This is always such a good time. Thank you, Moss, again so much, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.